qualified for the World Cup. Go and compete.
Oh, might just do a quick intro. Hello,
Yeah, sure.
and welcome. Oh, okay, no, it's fine. Just interrupt. It's okay. Hello, and welcome to the PUPcast. We're here on a special edition with myself, Connor, Adrian, and David, and Sean are also here to give their thoughts on the breaking news of the European Super League. Lads, how are we?
Upset.
Not so good.
Yeah.
Are we all
Pretty good,
upset? No. Dave, you're taking it well.
Yeah, a little too well, Dave. I have my suspicions.
For listeners, Sean thinks I'm on the Glazers payroll. But I mean, look, I don't want to take the stage too early, but I just want to say this is a follow-on of years of absolute greed in football, really. So you could make the point this was always coming. And if you're a United fan, does this really surprise you? I don't know, but we'll discuss all that a little later.
Well, that's maybe where I wanted to start off is I know some people are really upset by this, very upset.
Sean Man.
Can someone just maybe explain why? Just for someone who wouldn't understand. Why is this so annoying for football fans?
Who wants to take it?
I'll explain why I'm upset. Like for years, we probably did see this coming from United. Like ever since the Glazers took over in 2005, there's been protests. Like there was a yellow and gold or the green and gold campaign. And then you look at the way football is now, and even FIFA, like, and UEFA, they're all corrupt. You look at the World Cup and Qatar, everything. And now this is just completely takes the biscuit, and we have to choose between the lesser of two evils. We're looking for UEFA and FIFA now to try and put this right for us, even though they're really corrupt organizations in themselves. It's just so disappointing because, like, up until now, I just don't know where to start. Like, it's up until now, there was always fair competition. You saw Leicester win the league a few years ago, right in the face of all the other clubs that had the money, and they were able to go to the Champions League and enjoy their time there. Like, that is not even a possibility anymore. And like, if it's going to be a closed league, something like the Six Nations is for rugby, which is rubbish. You look at Italy, like they stay in the Six Nations, get battered every year. Like there's no incentive for them to get any better. There's no incentive for teams like Georgia or other countries to get into a premier division of rugby. So that's complete shite to me. Now it's going to look a little bit like that. And it's removing, like they don't give a shit about the fans. They never consulted the fans. So now, Old Trafford won't get filled. We've seen American owners like this. What's next? They're going to move the stadiums out of Manchester over to a place like Shanghai, where they can probably fit it for 100,000 people a week. And it's going to be Shanghai United instead of Manchester United. So it's just the start of it's a really big step of the demise of our favourite football clubs who have a lot of history. Like United and Liverpool have so much history. That's why we follow them. And it's a really, really sad time that it could happen.
I just want to say I disagree with that slightly. I think this is not the start. It's like the middle of the end. You could make this point.
It's the beginning of the end,
been
yeah.
Coming.
I said it's been coming, but it's a big step. Like this is probably the biggest step that we've seen in this globalization of football clubs and where the owners are making these decisions without fan input. Like nothing has been done on this scale before. This is totally reinventing the wheel.
Well, I mean, you could say the Premier League to a point was this on a scale. Like the Premier League broke away in '92 to make more money from television rights. So,
well, it didn't break away really.
Before.
It reinvented itself, but didn't break away.
Like, they made a new league.
It was, and the thing is, the FA and everyone were behind that. Like this is just the club owners in a little club of their own saying, okay, let's take our teams here and do this. That hasn't been done before. That wasn't the way it was done in the late 80s, early 90s. They wanted to market the Premier League But it wasn't the club owners making the decisions there. Like that was, and also there was still fair competition came into it. There was no exclusivity into the Premier League. You can still get promoted, demoted.
I agree with that, but like
Yeah.
this kind of has happened before. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think this is ridiculous. This and like I 100%. If it goes ahead, I'm not following it anymore because it's not the club that I grew up loving anymore. Like, and it hasn't been, and I haven't been totally honest with myself. Like, no, I've been on the podcast and stuff before. I've defended Ollie. I've defended United. Sometimes just talking out of my ass, to be honest. And I'm totally wrong, but I'm just going to defend United anyway. But no, this like Ed Woodward is an absolute scumbag. He's money making scumbag. He was working with JP Morgan to secure the sale of United to the Glazers. Then the Glazers gave him the job as chief executive. He knows nothing about soccer. He just knows about making money. And it happened to a few other big clubs. And yeah, it's something like this was going to happen. It's just really disappointing. And it's just disgusting. I think United should be kicked out of the Europa League straight away. And the other team should be kicked out of the Champions League straight away.
I just want to say the last time I was on, I said I was a die easy United fan because I didn't feel Ed Woodward and United and the Glazers were trying to win. And whoever said I had shit opinions, turns out I was right in the long run, wasn't I? About Frank and Klopp and United in general. But
Yeah.
Was that
that's a
me?
different story.
That might have been me. I'm not even sure.
That might have been you.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I heard an interesting point about why all this started. When you look back at 2018, and I think in 2018 was the year that Neymar went to PSG. And people from PSG have come out in the last couple of years and said that the reason they put out that bid for Neymar was basically to destroy the transfer market, because they knew if they raised the price of players so high, the old guard like Liverpool and Madrid and Barcelona couldn't compete. So all these teams banding together is actually what started this Super League, because they wanted to protect their own interests, basically, Madrid, Barcelona, and all these clubs. So I don't agree it's the start, but I feel like the tipping point to really the middle point of where all this is was the Neymar transfer and PSG trying to like completely destroy football and transfers and all that. But
Yeah, I think something like this was inevitable.
basically, sorry.
Like a big European-wide league was going to happen eventually, inevitably, but the no relegation thing is the biggest problem by far. Like, even if they just came out and said we're just forming our own league, European league, it'd be really shit. But I mean, that was what's going to happen. It's just the natural progression of things. But then to say that 12 teams, no matter how badly they do, are never going anywhere. Like Arsenal now. Some people are on about Arsenal who shouldn't be even in this league. Actually, never mind Arsenal. Spurs,
yeah,
who have never won anything. Like, they won a league fucking 60 years ago. They haven't won a trophy in our lifetime. But anyway,
Wigan have won a trophy more recently than Tottenham.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay,
Tottenham.
Yeah, but the idea, I've seen some people say this will work out well for Arsenal actually, because they'll inevitably hoard all these great players, so like they can't fail and they'll just keep getting better. It's like, I don't think that's what's going to happen. Stan Kroenke has shown that he's more than happy to just pick up the check every week from fans paying money for the tickets. So if there's no danger of getting relegated, they're getting guaranteed money every year. Why would he ever improve the team at all? The team can just turn to absolute shit. And
you could make the point that teams like Spurs, Arsenal, United, Liverpool to a point, even though I know Hanley disagrees with Flynn's point before about the fortune of how this team was made, but have only just been trying to qualify for the top four for the last 10 years anyway. Like, United haven't been trying to win a Premier League.
I totally
Spurs
agree
haven't
with
been
that.
trying to.
Yeah.
So like,
The only
this is
one
what they've always wanted. All they've ever wanted to do was finish in this little green zone, which is around third or fourth, where you make a load of money, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to get there. Like, the most expensive position in football to get to is from like third to first, because from there on you have to spend another 200 million on an Mbappe or a Kevin De Bruyne to get you to win a league. the most profitable zone you could be is where United are, where you just spend when you're out of the Champions League to get back into the Champions League. And once you actually qualify for it, you just sign Donny van de Beek for fuck all and then don't play him.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what these clubs have always wanted, just to make money for just being there, basically.
Yeah, I think the only thing that can prevent something like this happening with the way the system is like government intervention from the British government or the EU, because otherwise, what are UEFA going to do? UEFA can't do a fucking thing. FIFA can't do a thing. Especially the whole game is built on money, and that's the problem with a total free market like this. Is there's no way to prevent the monopoly of like the biggest, most powerful people who accumulate all the money. If they say, okay, we're going to set the rules now, no one can do a thing about it, because money is the root of the whole thing and they have the money. So the only way to prevent that is a government, a democratic vote of the people, which is probably not going to happen, have any kind of input on it whatsoever. But that would be the only thing that could prevent it, if the government came out and said, this is not going ahead.
Do you know what I'm curious about is if you look at all the big players, like the top players that this league would be hoping to attract, if they're not going to be able to play international football, are they still going to go just for the big, massive cash?
Yes.
Do you think they will? Because
yeah.
I don't know if these players are going to look at this made-up league that's invite only and think that's where I want to go. A league that has no history. Are they just going to go for the money? Because I think a lot of when I'm thinking Liverpool and I'm thinking of their big players like Salah and Mane and stuff, they really care more about playing for their national teams than they do Liverpool. They don't give a shit about Liverpool really, other than it gives money.
But at the same time, it's what happens in rugby. Rugby players give up their international careers to play in different countries and make more money. So why wouldn't a soccer player do
even
that?
away from like international and another sport, players get developed by clubs. They spend their whole life at a club. As an Arsenal fan, I'm aware of it, that once they get to like the age of like fucking 19, they're just like, even though I love this club, I've grown up here, spent my whole life here, supported them as a child, wore their jersey as a pajamas. Now another club is going to offer me more money, and not even that much more money. I'm going to go join Chelsea or something. They do that with clubs. Never mind countries. They're probably even more attached to these clubs than they were ever attached to the countries. So if people jump ship and do that, then I don't see what would stop them from saying, I'm not going to play internationals. I'm just going to play for the big money.
And another example of this was Giovinco. A couple of years ago, he was playing in Toronto for the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ripping up shit in the MLS, as in like he was the best player by a country mile. And Italy were really bad. And Antonio Conte said to him like 2 years before the World Cup, or it was a Euros or something, and he said, I'm not picking you unless you play in Italy. And Giovinco was like, no, I'm going to stay in Toronto and keep playing against all these little children and score loads of goals. So it didn't matter to him. So it'll matter to some players, but I think the majority of them, I don't think it will.
Yeah, interesting. I think it'll be tighter than that.
I think it'll be tighter as well. I'd side with Hanley there. I think you look at some of the players, like to get to the top, you need to be driven. Like these guys are not people who went on the piss when they were teenagers. They put their head down. They put the work into training hard, trying to be the best. They love football. I would like to think that the majority of them love football. They've watched it growing up. They want to win the Champions League, the Premier League. For a lot of, definitely, there has to be. I know myself, maybe I'll be naive in saying it, but I think I would rather play for Leicester in a real league for 30 or 40 grand a week than United in this rubbish for 80 or 100 grand a week. I'd like to think, honestly, that I would be like that. Obviously, some players don't give a shit. We have the Gareth Bales of the world. We have the lads who went to China. You know, that type of personality won't care. But it'll probably be the older players. It's going to be like a retirement group. Like, it won't look good after a while. The novelty will wear off. We won't like seeing United playing Real Madrid every week. It won't be worth as much money to the consumer. So it's actually not a very good long-term business plan, because you look at United Real Madrid in the semi-final of the UEFA Champions League. That's a huge game because it comes around once every 10 years. If you're watching that every week, it's rubbish. And then it's
Chelsea
like...
are playing Madrid for the first time in a Champions League game ever coming up.
Yeah,
First
and that
one
has a
ever.
real good pull to it. Like,
Yeah,
you know, you
that's
can
your point,
imagine
yeah.
exactly, you know. But if you could say, oh, you know, United are playing Real Madrid 6 times in the next year, is this in this round robin thing? It's like, okay, yeah, it's pretty dire. Like we've seen that in the Champions Cup, you know, those mini preseason tournaments that they have. And this is probably examples of the thing when Rooney made that point today, that they have like Champions Cup mini tournaments in the preseason, like we play on FIFA. It's like this in the regular season, which is just it will lose its pull, like, you know. So long term, unless the Chinese market and the American market keeps paying for it, I don't think the market is there in the UK for it or anywhere in Europe.
I have a question for like all of you. What club do you think looks the worst out of all of this? Because like I'm a United fan, and I've said it in the past year that I felt like United as a club weren't trying to win anything anyway, and Woodward was only obsessed with making money. You could make. I don't want to make an argument for Arsenal or Liverpool now, but what club do you think looks the worst out of, like, which club has put itself on a moral pedestal, the highest moral
I
pedestal?
know what you're trying to say, Dave.
I'll go first and say probably Liverpool.
I suppose.
Them or Barcelona for me.
Well, I
Really?
mean, they cashed in their chips when they were like, they got rid of the UNICEF or whatever sponsor to get sponsored by Qatar. That was a big line in the sand. I thought, I was like, wow, that was like a big part of their identity. And they got rid of
jersey and all
UNICEF.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was like, we're not going to take sponsors. We're more than a club. Qatar come along with an extra 100 million. They're like, bye children of UNICEF. All the best. May the road rise to meet you.
Ronaldinho just doing keep the uppies with UNICEF children.
Yeah, that was
like what I do think is the Liverpool owners, they are American, right? And they're clearly ignorant. And, you know, there's a way American sports are run that's different to the way English sports are run and all that kind of stuff. But I can see the thinking that, look, the Champions League, we're sick of playing Dynamo Zagreb fucking every second year and earning shit all, and it's such a difficult competition to win, and we've won it now, so let's just fucking leave it and let's make an elite competition. So we'll still have the Premier League, we'll still have all the local rivalries and all that kind of stuff, and we don't affect anything, and we'll just have a more elite Champions League. I actually kind of get that. I really do. What fucks all this is the Premier League and the internationals all saying, well, you can't, or else you can't be part of this. So now there's this kind of thing where they're going, well, we have the ball rolling on this. We can actually maybe compete with the Premier League. And that's where it's all fucked. And this invite-only idea just doesn't sit anymore. Because, especially for British people, like the history of the clubs, like for us, we're blow-in fans, you know? Whereas for them, it's about the history and the competition and all that kind of stuff, and looking after local players and local teams even, you know, all these lower league teams. So I think that's the issue. I mean, if they could keep the Premier League going, they'd be fine.
Plus, if you think about it, like, the other negative to this is that these clubs are like, you know what, we want to have our own European league to make more money. Fine. But you're going to get 300 million euro reportedly more than, if you're Liverpool, for example, than West Ham, who actually qualify for the Champions League. Or Arsenal will get 300 million more than fucking Leicester or Wolves or whoever is ahead of them in the league. Which doesn't make any sense, because those teams are better than you. Why are you getting 300 million more? That's just ridiculous.
The rest of the season is just completely meaningless. Even if Arsenal and them aren't kicked out of the Europa League, who gives a shit now? Because it's like the whole point of this Europa League run was like, oh, if they can get the Champions League through the back door, wow, imagine next season back in the Champions League. What a huge struggle up the mountain. Now, who gives a shit? No one, they can kick them out of the Europa League. Fine. Like, none of the games matter. None of the league matters this whole season.
Exactly.
I question, what's the point in it? Makes you ask yourself why you even support a club in the first place. Like, why do I even support Arsenal?
I heard someone make
I've no answer
about the Glazers. Oh, sorry, but I heard someone make the point with the Glazers that the big thing for Solskjaer, which you've talked about on this before, was that he needs to win a trophy to prove he's a good manager. He needs to win a trophy. Like, finishing second is good enough. Solskjaer could win the Europa League this year, and the Glazers have inadvertently made that competition meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
So people, the public are challenging Solskjaer to win a trophy, and their owners are just basically saying, yeah, you know what, that trophy doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't care if he wins something. Like the issue with Ollie, like the thing is with Ollie is that they're just trying to keep the United fan base quiet. We all love Ollie, and we're just about there, and we're okay. We're looking a bit better, so we're, as a fan base, we're a little bit more content with it than before. So the owners like, okay, they're not rioting on the streets, and also they're all in a pandemic, so they can't, and we can just go about it and do what's really important, and it's just about making profits. So they couldn't give a shit if we win the Europa League. Like, you look at Tottenham. Tottenham have a chance of winning their first trophy in how long? In 6 days' time, and they sack their manager. They don't give a rat's ass about that cup or anything. They're just about, oh, we need profits. It's like, I think someone asked a question to one of the Glazers last week, and he didn't know how the offside rule worked or something like that. They don't give a shit. Like, the thing is, it's not going to work long term. Like, these are bankers, American bankers, and they're investors. Investors are good because they put money into something when it's a good time to, and they're good at getting out of it when the shit hits the fan. They'll pump this. You've seen share prices go up in all the clubs today. They'll do all this. We know that it's going to lose its pull in a couple of years. They're going to leave this league and the clubs in it in a pile of shit. They'll be out of the Premier League. They will be after selling all their shares, and these clubs and this Super League will be worthless in a few years. Like, it could all just turn to shit. Like, these bankers every 20 years they destroy the stock market anyway. So how can you trust them? They don't give a shit. They're just trying for their own self-interest. The problem is that we allowed it to happen. I wish that we had a model like the Germans, where fans have to have 51% of shares, controlling shares. We don't have it. We left the door open, and now we're pretty much screwed.
Capitalism.
To a point, though, do you think we've subconsciously always loved the idea of the Super League? In that, like, we've been watching Sky Sports for the last 10 years, and they have been, like, talking as if the top 6 is a mini league within the Premier League, and that getting into the top 6 is the ultimate to prove that you are one of the top 6 teams in England. And we always, like, subconsciously always loved the idea of a Super League.
I think they were selling it. Like, I think, look, they're probably the top 6. They were trying to include probably the top 6 sets of supporters. So they're probably, if they keep including Arsenal and Tottenham as part of the conversation, they're going to get clicks and views from those fan bases because they're still big. So they're, even if Arsenal is shit, they're still including them. So I think that's, look, it is what it is. But like, the Champions League should have been, there's too many teams in there anyway. And I think, Dave, we were saying years ago that really what it should be maybe the champions and runners-up of the league, plus the FA Cup winners, and that's it. And then, like, or maybe the champions of the league and the champions of the cup, and they all go into European competition. And then that's your good competition. You don't get there for being 4th out of 20 people. Yeah. Like, that's the way it should be, but I don't know.
Well, one thing I just wanted to back up was that this idea of, like, another European competition or a more elite European competition isn't really that even bad an idea, but it's, like we said, the relegation. It's like, these are the best 6 teams in England, like, forever now. Like,
forever. Yeah.
Because, like, 50 years ago, it would have been a totally different 6 teams. I mean, Man City wouldn't have been anywhere close.
30 years ago, Leeds and Everton would have been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Newcastle.
Blackburn.
Yeah, so just all these teams have just... Yeah.
Spurs got so lucky, really.
So lucky. But I wonder...
That Daniel Levy, dog, he is a piece of work, you know. He got him in all right. Like, if there's a talk around the table with this kind of crack, you know, Daniel Levy, he's involved. Like,
can I just say in defense of Spurs, because people love to shit on Spurs, and I always think to a point it's kind of unfair.
I love
shitting on Spurs. Who do you think spent more in the last 5 years, Everton or Spurs?
Who's what?
Spent more money in the last 5 years, Everton or Spurs?
Probably Everton, yeah.
Spurs don't spend even a fraction of what United spend, what City spend, what Chelsea spend, and we still compare them to all these big clubs. So it's laughable the Spurs are in it, but Spurs always get a hard doing, I think, for just being good enough to be around the conversation of winning something, but never actually being there. I think.
I dislike Chelsea more than Spurs. Well, actually, now it doesn't even matter because fuck it, they're all in the we're all in the same boat, and I'm in that boat with them.
I know. God, like it's just I hate them all. I just like
it's yeah, I hate United. We hate it.
I don't want to follow them at all.
Me and Mannix have been pretty vocal that like we've nearly stopped supporting United. I've been pretty close to it for a while now.
100%.
Would Flynn or Hanley, would two of you consider stop supporting?
I think I have to see what happens. Like, one thing that has actually made me a little sad is realizing that the 6 Champions League that we won means nothing anymore. It means nothing. All the Premier Leagues may as well have not happened. It may as well become Liverpool Wanderers, like, you know? So yeah. I think if there was still the same players and the same staff and it was still Liverpool, maybe I could just be like, sweet, now they have all this money to go and buy the best players, and maybe I don't have to watch Liverpool with a shitty draw to Southampton anymore. I can just watch them be hammered by Madrid every week. You know, I really don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know that I could just swap like my support for Liverpool to another team though. That's my worry. If I could, I'd be like, grand, I'm a fucking Bayern Munich supporter right now. I'd nearly just do it.
I feel like if the thought crosses your mind of I don't know, I'll have to wait and see, then you're going to support him. If you're not straight away like I'm done, then the thought is already in your mind of letting him in.
Yeah, it's like if your missus shifted someone else, would you stop loving her? Probably wouldn't, you know?
This is really similar to like someone saying like they cheated on you. Yeah.
I don't know if I could just stop loving someone because they fucked up, you know? Even if it was a really bad
your missus, but say your missus is completely different now, like looks different and different personality, because United United in the 90s, right? Like I'm in love with United in the 90s, United under Sir Alex, but this global thing that is United now, like I would be looking for
it's more like it's like someone telling you they got married to someone else, not that they cheated. Because it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake, like a one-night thing. They made the decision to totally change everything and to leave everything else behind.
I fell into the Europa Super League. Like I fell into the Super League.
Yeah.
I got drunk and signed up for the Super League.
Well, what if they were like, but look at us now. Like, look, I've got like implants or something.
I know,
like
that's kind of like
now I'm playing all the best teams and you're going to see the best football and it's going to be the best. You're going to have the best sex of your life every week for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but they also say they're like also married to a Chinese man and an Arab man, and you have to share between them.
Exactly, like those kind of.
What about you, Flynn? What about you?
Not for real life, you know.
Fuck. This is. I mean, I really don't want to, but I just know once the first game, like I have it in my mind, I won't watch, and I just feel like the first game that's on, I'll even check the score. If I even check the score in Arsenal's first game, I'm already giving in. I'm saying I'm interested. I want to know about it. So I'd have to completely cut the whole thing off, which wouldn't even be possible because it'll just be plastered fucking everywhere and everyone will be talking about it. And I'd have to give up following football, really. And maybe I should.
I
think it'd be easier. I think it'd be easier than you think, Finn, because right? So, say Arsenal, they won Super League a year from now. What's left there? You just know that those players don't care. Whoever's left there, right, fair enough, someone might be stuck on a contract for another year or two. But after that part fails or passes, who's left? Just people who don't care about natural competition, just people who just want paycheck. That's honestly like watching the Chinese Super League. There's not the same want and desire in that set of players, you know, as there would be in a league with proper competition. So for me, I'd be like, I might check the score out of habit, but after a while, it just will go away. And then it made me ask myself, why did I even start following Arsenal at all in the first place? Like, what were the reasons why I chose to support a team in a different country? And I can lie to myself and be like, it was philosophy or the style of play, or I had uncles in London or some shite. But the reality is that it's because I saw loads of ads for them. And that's it.
I only started following United because I got a big poster with a football magazine. On one side of Alan Shearer and the other side of Cantona.
Yeah.
And like obviously Cantona with his like collar peaked up looked way cooler than Alan Shearer, like the local butcher.
And
you know
even,
what I mean? So,
even we won't matter, like, because there's a younger generation coming up and they won't give a shit because they won't have any attachment in the first place. And it'll seem weird to them for us to be upset about it because they'll be like, well, why were you attached to them? Why did you care about that at all? It'd be like if someone told us that they stopped following Everton in 92 or whatever because they joined the Premier League. And to us now, it'd be like, makes no difference to us. Like, we did the exact same thing. We support them in the Premier League. It doesn't matter that they're in this league. It's the top football teams.
Like the amount of like Americans over here, or Americans, North Americans, whatever, that support PSG and like City.
Yeah.
Like, and like they're like diehard like fans of them, and it's like these are like the worst clubs in the world.
Yeah. And there are people who support Arsenal because when you load up FIFA, they're the first team you see.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nice.
So I want to talk about. Sorry, Panda, you go on. I'll talk about it after.
No, I was just gonna say, out of all this, like, I think Bayern and PSG will be like the places to go for players after this because they can still be competitive. They can still make lots of money. They can do whatever they want in competitive leagues, make whatever they want, play whatever internationals they want. I think, and even the PR that they'll get out of it by, being proper footballing teams and not giving into the money.
But
I
PSG, no. PSG,
no,
because they're being
PSG.
complete hypocrites about this.
I was actually thinking Dortmund.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them as far as to control them. But I think a lot will come down to what Sky are all against it. But if they're offered a deal tomorrow, totally changes the picture. Same with BT. We do follow fan channels, so we'll be in the know. But for massive percentages of people, the marketing and everything depends what Nike do, depends what all the sponsors do, depends what Sky does.
Yeah,
they'll either show the Champions League all the time or they'll start showing the new league all the time. And the owners themselves don't care about me or you, are true fans. They just care about, as we're talking about, this new crop of fans, either younger generations or American fans, Chinese fans who don't care, don't know the history, but they'll pay money to see it.
And Adrian, I really don't share your optimism about Bayern Munich or the German clubs. Whatever about PSG, that's its own category because they're like backed by a country. But Bayern, best case scenario is that they don't join. They stay firm and they don't join. I think they will join. They'll eventually have to go along. But even if they don't join, I don't see their future being very bright because as much history and as much of a purist club as they are, they'll end up at best like Ajax are today because they're just not going to be in the picture. They're not going to be in the top. They're not going to be a top destination, no matter how good they have it, their facilities or whatever, or their ethics. Ajax, and that's in the best case scenario, they'd be like Ajax after 10 years. Like Ajax only 15, 25 years ago were winning Champions Leagues. They were the top team in Europe. And 10 years of the Premier League, of commercialized, globalized football, Ajax were gone down the fucking tubes. And they're not even like, they're bigger now than I think Bayern would be in 15 years if they stay out of this.
Ajax are like Leicester.
Good point.
They got to like a Champions League semi-final, wonderful fairy tale there a couple of years ago. I'm sure Leicester's Premier League was a fairy tale. There's a lot of I've been looking online a lot, reading stuff about like a lot of the, like we were listening to Klopp there, and I know it's probably been cut out, my criticism, but he was talking about the Champions League and it's already a pure competition. But the Champions League was born out of AC Milan wanting to make more money, so they wanted to add this group stage into a European competition back in like the 80s. Like Champions League was AC Milan's idea because they were the biggest club and they wanted to make more money. The Premier League in itself has been born out of, Kieran talked about it yesterday in our group chat, and it's slightly different to this, but it's similar. But like this, the Premier League was born out of greed because the clubs that wanted to join the Premier League wanted more money, and didn't want to filter the money down necessarily back to the football leagues. So I don't know when you want to talk about Sky Sports and the hypocrisy out of all coming out of their fucking mouths. I don't know, but I feel like a lot of people are misremembering the good old days of football of the last 30 years because a lot of it has been born out of greed anyway.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just football. This happens with everything. When money gets into it and it becomes the sole driving force behind anything. If something's popular and there's enough money in it, eventually it all becomes so sanitized and so the same, and it becomes like locked off for like a few big companies to make as much money as they possibly can off it, and everything else is like pittance. It doesn't matter how important it is, like movies or music or anything. It's like a few big people ring fence their profits and turn everything into the same thing that looks the same and sounds the same, that appeals to the widest amount of people. Exactly. That appeals to a globalized audience. And it'll happen. It happens to everything that you love. If money gets into it.
No.
It really does.
100%.
If money gets into it, it turns into the same thing. And that's something that appeals to the widest amount of people. And that's it. That's why we should all go out and support our alternative jazz musicians playing the fucking bongo drums or something. At least they're not in it for the money.
True.
Can I do a little role play with Hanley?
Okay.
So I'm going to be David O'Sullivan, chief reporter of Sky Sports.
Okay.
Sean, you're going to be from the Daily Mail, and Flynn, you're going to be from Arsenal Fan TV. I don't know. And Hanley, you're going to be the chairman of Liverpool, and you have to defend the Super League.
Okay. All right.
So, Mr. Hanley, the announcement of the European Super League. What are your thoughts on the league overall?
I think it's a great opportunity for our fans to see the elite players in the sport playing every week. We've conquered Europe, and now we're going to conquer it in a different form with truly the best players and the best teams and the best facilities, and it's a very exciting time.
Is he taking the piss, fam?
Excuse me?
Enough is enough, fam. It's time to go.
I don't know what...
My mom is pro Super League. Is she nuts, fam?
I don't think she is. I think Arsenal are another brilliant team, and we look forward to seeing them in the competition. We've met them many times over the years and had great games against them, and we'll continue to do so.
Well, I'm convinced.
Is that all we have? That's it for today? Okay.
You handled that pretty well.
It's easy. It's fucking easy.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be hard.
No, the Champions League is dead and buried. Like I said, it's just what I don't get, and I'm convinced of this, you see, but I know that you think differently, is like from I'll talk a Liverpool perspective. If they could stay in the Premier League and play this Super League and play internationals, I think that would be perfect for them. But you seem to think that they wanted out of the Premier League anyway, do you?
Well, the initial thing of this 3 years ago is that they would make their own league completely. So I think this is just them dipping their toes in the water. Plus, as I said earlier, and I used the example of like Arsenal and Liverpool, for example, it's not fair that Liverpool and Arsenal and United and any of these clubs can join a competition where they make 300 million every year and finish like 9th in the Premier League. But West Ham, for example, could finish above them, qualify for the Champions League, and they're at a disadvantage of 300 million. That's where it's, for me,
and
that's
I wonder,
one of the big reasons.
Like, there must have been some criteria for picking it, or do you think it was just the richest teams? Like, do you think they went, well,
highest viewership, probably, around the world?
It was more
it's
old
pure
teams
buddies.
wanted to.
There is a lot of buddy, cronyism in
a lot of buddies.
The buddies wanted to protect themselves from the next City and the next PSG and the next. It's the old teams
themselves from themselves.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves from this new wealth coming in. It'd be like if all the banks in the world came together to protect themselves from Bitcoin. You know, it's like it's the old wealth trying to hold on to the old bit of power that they have because they see the power of PSG, they see the power of Manchester City, they see the power of Chelsea, which no one gave a shit about Chelsea fucking 20 years ago. Like I saw United fans cheering on Chelsea at the weekend. Like how fucking embarrassing is that? Like,
Yeah, normally
just to stop City from winning through.
Oh, I was cheering them on. That's not embarrassing.
I was.
Wow.
I was. I don't want City to win a quadruple because that's going to overshadow our treble of '99. Because I remember that because that's part
cheering
of
on Chelsea.
I was proud of it. Of course, I was cheering on Chelsea when they beat Man City. 100%.
I think that's bad. But whatever.
I don't think a lot of United fans would disagree with me.
Sure.
We don't like.
Trophies don't matter anymore.
But they don't matter now anymore. But like on Saturday, they did.
Show me your profit loss accounts for the year ending. Okay. That's what the children growing up today are going to have. They're going to get sticker books full of profit and loss balance sheets. It's like, show me Arsenal's financial returns in their advertising revenue from the first quarter. Oh, you got shirt sales figures. I'll trade you for my boot sales figures.
You could make the point that Arsenal were the first club to figure all this out. That like you don't have to necessarily win things to be successful. You just have to finish like third or fourth.
Yeah. I mean, Arsenal still today, in terms of global popularity, are like more popular than any of the Italian teams, and about level with Bayern Munich in like worldwide popularity. Somehow, despite having only won like a handful of FA Cups in the past 15 years. That's fucking bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Fine. How bizarre?
Winning doesn't really mean.
Like, and because Arsenal and Tottenham, like, they are simply not good enough, probably, to get to the Champions League in the next 3 or 4 years fairly. That's of course they're up for this, like, because the way Arsenal and Tottenham are set up, like Tottenham is an absolute shambles of a club with the new stadium and everything. Like they're like, oh, if we don't get Champions League, we are absolutely screwed. And of course, they're going to have the self-interest to get in there. Liverpool are probably on a downward spiral. Like, and United, we could go down. I think Chelsea and Man City were some of those last to sign up. I think it was kind of spearheaded by United. And
spearheaded by the American owners, and they kind of bullied City and these other teams to join because they were saying, well, the only way, like, you don't need to be in this competition for the money because Roman Abramovich, like, people in oil fields for money, and fucking City have all the money in the world, so they're only in it for the prestige of being in the top European competition. And the only reason PSG aren't joining is because they're trying to protect the World Cup in Qatar, and they also own BEIN Sports, and they just signed a massive contract to air the Champions League. So before anyone thinks City or PSG are the bastions of good morals.
Or absolutely not. And you know, it's funny. I was looking at the former president of Real Madrid, Calderon. I think he was the president between 2009 and 2011 or something. And he was like, "Oh, this is absolutely ridiculous." Not this, because you have Florentino Perez, who was the president of Real Madrid. Now he's going to be the chief executive of this new league. And I'm listening to your man talk on Sky Sports. And he's like, "Oh, this is disgusting," and all that. I'm like, no, you would do the exact same thing. You're the exact same person. Like, it's just you weren't in the job when this decision was made. Like, you're all the exact same. These business people that we shouldn't even know the names of. It's just so fucking frustrating.
What's going to be important going forward is, because there's no relegation or anything, it's going to be about making your team look cooler than the others, because it doesn't matter how well you do. Like the Dallas Cowboys in American football, everyone knows Dallas Cowboys, even though I don't think they've won shit for a long time, or they haven't won very much. But like, they're the biggest team because they're cool. The brand, everyone thinks Dallas Cowboys. They were in The Simpsons.
And entrances and maybe like Enter the Sandman and all this kind of crack.
All you want now is more pageantry, more to get your club in pop culture, get people wearing your hats more than anything, because then that's what's going to make people want to join you or keep joining you, because winning doesn't matter. Well, we're going to be watching ads.
To add to that, like, they could make a Super League Super Bowl, but like, the thing that differentiates American sports from this new Super League is that there's a salary cap, for example, so all the teams are even. So like City could be getting 300 million, but they'll still be richer than Arsenal United. So like they could just run away with this Super League.
They could introduce. Yeah,
I wouldn't be
they could
surprised.
introduce salary cap after a while.
Salary caps,
if
which are
you're-
not there to like protect the club, to keep the club stable, is to protect the owners from having to pay employees what they're worth.
Yeah.
And like there's draft picks as well. So like if you finish at the bottom, so say for example if United finished last, they would get the top draft pick. So then in 3 or 4 years' time, they could be the best team because they have the #1 draft pick. That's not how soccer works. So if you just finish bottom with a Super League, you just shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Give me another 3
Yeah.
million.
So I'm saying this can't change unless there's government legislation. But
Yeah, so that brings it on. Like, look, we're all totally against this in so many ways, but like, how do we fix it? Like, government legislation, it's so messy.
yep, that's the only thing you can do.
Do you not see managers walking? No.
No.
I would like to
Jurgen
say
Klopp
so.
will use it as sorry.
Oh yeah,
But
you
like,
wanted to say this. Yeah. Okay.
If he was smart, he
gonna
would do
use
that.
Yeah. Jurgen Klopp is going to come out with a tear rolling down his cheek, have a press conference. Guys, we had some good times. I ran the hamstrings off all these players. They're all dead on their feet.
Yeah.
We won 2 trophies in 4 years, but it's just not football anymore.
I will say one thing just before Flynn cuts in is I know what you're saying, but I can't speak for all Liverpool fans, but I believe that the majority will be really disappointed if he left. I don't think people want him to go. So, but I know what you're saying. Like, yeah,
I think they'd want him to go now. Out of principle, they will be like okay with it if he left.
If Ollie left United tomorrow morning, I'd be delighted.
This is a great opportunity for like a mediocre player or manager to say, I'm retiring or I'm out, and you instantly overnight make yourself a hero of the people, and you can build a brand off that. Oh no, now I'm doing it. How do you make money out of this? How do you make money off people by exploiting their emotions?
100%.
Yeah.
I've been thinking
Granit Xhaka should retire tonight. Like,
you're just.
I was thinking this like a couple of months back. If Solskjaer finished like second and won a trophy, he shouldn't have accepted a new contract. He should have just bolted because he was never going to get fully backed, or United were never going to compete with City and Chelsea anyway. Leave while the good times are rolling, you know what I mean? And I think Klopp would be a genius to like cash in on this excuse and say, look, Liverpool could come back and be good next year, but the reality is they're probably not going to be as good as Chelsea or City. Like, cash in on the excuse and go. Leave with your head held up high some bit.
I'd like to give them a little bit more credit than that. I think with players, they're still making money for their careers. They might not have management and things afterwards. So I think a lot of them might have to obviously stick out their contracts, number one, and they might even sign new contracts. But I would like to believe that, the Managers Association, people like Pep, who don't need work, who have a name for themselves, they would walk away from this idea. I would love to see that idea. Like Sir Alex came out last night all against it. If this happened when he was in power, would he walked away from the idea? He might have. So I'd like to see Pep do it. Like I'd like to see Ollie walk away. Like there was an FC United of Manchester founded in 2005 after the Glazers took over.
Yeah.
And I'd love it if a couple of massive United figureheads just said, fuck this, and they just went over to them. Something crazy like that. Just remove the value from the club straight away. Then it's not worth anything for this crowd of investors to make this major change. Just gotta kill the value of the club, because the power is in the players and the managers. They can make a change. I don't know what that.
Is the power in the player and the managers when a player's career is only like, say, if you're a
maybe not so much in the players.
Your career is maybe 7 or 8 years. Liverpool's been around for like 100 years. The power is in the brand, I think, unfortunately.
Well, the brand is gone. Like,
it's taken a hit, but is it gone? I mean, like Hanley just said, like, he wouldn't.
It's like they lost a couple million people in England and Ireland, and they gained like 200 million in Southeast Asia.
But like, it could be they could rebrand it some Chinese city, like. Like the clubs that we know them as of today, if this plan goes ahead, are no longer the clubs that we've supported. So it's over. Like that's the way.
United haven't been the club I've been supported for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, but I mean, they're close to success. You can still celebrate the success. Like you can kind of go along with it. It's not the same as it was, 100%. But they're still in a competitive league. Everyone at the start of the season starts with 0 points, and they're only 8 points away from City. It's still a bit of a, they still did something to get there. It's still a competitive league, and because it's still something to follow. Definitely doesn't have the same pull as it did years ago, but now it's completely fucking gone. I couldn't care less. Like, I'm watching Liverpool Leeds here. I'm on a waste of time. Who cares?
What is the score actually on that?
But that's it. Well, it's 0-0. But I'm watching it too. But even in my head, I'm going, this really doesn't matter a fuck. But it's I'm like still watching it. That's kind of the point. Is like I'm still here watching it because is it habit or is it deep down? I secretly just still want Liverpool to win. Like, I don't think you can just turn off. I don't know. I find it interesting that Dave is like, well, I haven't really felt like it's Man United the last few years. It's like, I don't know. Is that just since Ferguson went or what?
Well, it's more that I have felt, and I think I've seen a trend in English football that teams aren't even necessarily trying to win outside of the teams that have disgusting oil money or disgusting state-funded money.
Football was no longer a priority.
The winners of the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you look at the winners of the last 10 years, do you want to take a guess how many league titles Chelsea and City have won between them, if you include this year's, which City are probably going to win?
Most.
The last 10 years, is it?
Yeah, I think it's like 7 or 8. I think it's 7. Yeah. They've won 7. Leicester won 1, Liverpool won 1, and United won 1. So you could say United's is the last dying legs of the dynasty, and Liverpool's and Leicester's are a blip on the radar. If you want to be honest about it, But we all.
Well, Liverpool were competitive for a few years, but whatever.
For 2 years out of 10. If you're being honest,
I might say 3 years.
United came second, like this is going to. We're off the pace, but like we came second a few years ago.
How many points were United behind City when they won that?
100% here. The United, they've been trough, Dave. But I'm saying they've been competitive. I've still followed them. Like they've been competitive this year. They how many games did they come back and win from being 1-0 down? They've been competitive. They're trying to win games.
I think your issue is more specifically with football rather than United.
I would say it's partly United as well. And look, part of the issue with United as well is they can't compete with City and Chelsea because they can't pull the money out of their arse unless they get an oil oligarch or a fucking state to fund them. So
but can I be very blunt now and just say that you sound a bit like a glory hunter? Like you just stopped following United when they stopped winning.
No, I'm not saying I didn't stop. No, again, it's not saying that was when they wasn't winning. It's when they clearly stopped competing. You can look back at United's transfers in the last couple of years, and they only spent money when they didn't qualify for the Champions League because they're making
100%.
And the most money they make is when they get money from Adidas.
I'm not denying that, Dave. And same to be said with Arsenal. And you're right. Like Chelsea and Man City have probably shown the most intent to go out and win the league, right? But like United players, I'm still fond of the likes of Greenwood, Rashford, a few others that have clearly go and try and win games. There's still enough. I still have enough love for the team to watch them in this regard. Now, if it goes into this league, then absolutely not. It's nothing to me. But like
in the NBA, teams go out to win, but their owners jeopardize them from winning because they want to tank and get draft picks. You know what I mean? Rashford and Greenwood would work their bollocks off, but if United don't get a defensive midfielder or sign a centre half or sign a right winger, they're not going to win anything. And the only reason the Glazers would sign those players is to qualify for the Champions League, not win. That's my point.
Yeah, but I'm still supporting the league. I mean, the players are still competitive. I think there's two different arguments here. We're not really arguing about the same thing. But look, I don't know. What can we do about it going forward? It's just a dark day, in my view.
Yeah,
it's a real dark one.
Can I just throw in quickly that Sky Sports making like Monday Night Football free to air and pretending like they're the good guys in all of this is the biggest load of fucking horse shit.
Yeah, and they were charging people €15 for a match before
for Sheffield and Burnley. And fucking Gary Neville, like, going out on these fucking rants when he's the owner of fucking Salford City, and he went against salary caps for League One and League Two, which would have helped his competition. But he didn't want that. He just wanted to pump a load of money into Salford and get to the championship as fast as he could. Roy Keane going on television saying it's going against the average football fan, when the reality is the average football fan's been spending €90 a month for a Sky Sports subscription. Fucking Michael Richards, like, with a tear rolling down his fucking cheek.
Yeah. It's actually
that Man City would join this league.
It's to their benefit.
When there are nothing.
Yeah. It's to their benefit to criticize themselves, because as long as they're the ones criticizing themselves, they can control what is being said in criticism. It's like the way Heineken make like anti-drink driving ads. It's like they'll put out anti-drink driving ads so they can say they're, doing the right thing, but they're also doing it because it's going to happen regardless. They're going to get this criticism, but as long as they make it, they can make it as harmless to them as possible and also advertise their product while they're doing it. So Sky come along and say, here's the opinion which is against commercialization of football, but we're going to control it and you have to come to our platform to see it. It's like the way Murdoch owned like Fox News and he owned National Geographic at the same time, which were arguing, Fox, which denied climate change, and National Geographic, which was saying climate change is a massive issue. He owned them both, so he was just collecting money from both sides immediately. So it didn't even matter what the actual argument was. It was all about funneling enough money towards his own pockets.
It's
got to get off the grid.
I just see people like applauding Gary Neville on Twitter, and I just think it's the most irritating thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just, and I like Neville as a pundit generally. I think he's fucking way better in character, but like on this, I just feel like they should just keep their mouth shut and just show the game, to be honest, because it's so hypocritical coming from them.
I don't know if they should keep their mouth shut. I mean, if they didn't, like, I know. Look, if Sky sent a memo to all their employees, we're going to get a good deal out of the Super League. Stop badmouthing it. Straight away, we're going to have them like changing their tune. But it's good to hear from something. Like, it's not a lot of people follow the fan sites enough, so it's good to hear kind of them talking bad about it for now until they have to talk good about it.
But did you ever hear anyone from Sky Sports criticizing Chelsea coming into the league, or criticizing City, or where their money's coming from? No, they were just preening themselves over like City getting a £60 million signing, or Chelsea signing this person. It just seems so fake all of a sudden that they've never questioned where the money is coming from in the past. But now all of a sudden we're the good guys and we're going to talk for an hour. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems so fake to me, to be honest. I don't know.
It's over for the little guy. It's like football died fucking 30 years ago, but we're just reading the obituary now.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
We got like 3 minutes left in this meeting. 4.
Mourinho, what about that?
Oh, fuck, Mourinho.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious, he got sacked before winning a trophy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
This is like the last gasp of what I used to think of football. Like this whole valuing managers and trophies and this, where it's like, this is what I'm thinking about week to week. Who's going to get sacked? Are they going to win a cup? From this point on, I don't know, why would I care about any of that? So I guess I'm going to remember Jose Mourinho get sacked. It's the last time I really cared genuinely about anything in football.
Yeah, could be the same for myself. Could really be the same.
Anyway,
except following GA, I think.
Well, GA is worse.
it'll happen to GA too.
It is happening in GA. Look at Dublin, and the Munster Hurling Championship is like a group stage competition, basically, where it's 5 teams and none of them get relegated, which is very similar to the Super League. So it's a complete. And if, say, for example, Kerry, who are in Munster, got promoted out of their second division, they don't go into the Munster Championship; they go into the Leinster one, which is basically like fucking Eredivisie shit hurling championship. It's already happening there. Sorry, J fans.
All these industries, they always end up turning into the same thing on a long enough time scale. I'm telling you. That's why I only watch like black and white French movies from the 50s. There's no danger of that there. Don't have to worry about it. You can't change those now. There's plenty of them to see as well.
So is it a movie? Is it a movie unless you have a green screen and someone in a cape running around
Yeah.
Isn't that
with a Chinese character who gets like 20-minute extra scenes in the Chinese release of the movie, but they do nothing in the American release.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, it happens a lot.
They destroyed Top Gun. Did you see that, Flynn?
Popcorn.
The new one.
Top Gun.
Sorry.
Sure, Top Gun
Popcorn.
Top Gun never had any integrity. That was always a recruiting tool for the military. It was made to get people into the military. They had recruiting booths set up in the lobbies of the cinemas, like so you'd come out of Top Gun and write your name down.
I heard that like a year ago.
Well, I would be signing my name up for it if I saw Top Gun. Like, I'd be like, oh, I get a motorbike, a girl, fly a jet. Okay, good
No.
guys. Like, there's a great soundtrack as well as he dies. So I'd be like, yeah, sign me up.
Spoiler alert.
One of the toughest things to do is admit the thing that you love isn't so good. Like Top Gun. If you really think about like Top Gun's fun. I love Top Gun, but like I know it's no good either. That all of that is horseshit. And now I kind of have to admit that about Arsenal and football.
Yeah.
It's like I love it, but I shouldn't, and I should stop.
We should just thank the lads for coming back, I guess.
Yeah,
Good to have
thanks
you
very
back.
much. Great to hear from you.
Thank you, Jen.
Could be the last time.
It could be. Jesus, I don't know.
R.I.P. the PUPcast.
Just continue about cooking and
Yeah. Just talk about
Marxism and
Marxism.
That's it.
whatever else you want to talk about. You go on some cool adventures.
Brilliant.
Well, it's been a pleasure, lads.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Salute.
All the best, boys.
Look.
You've been listening to the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. For more of our content, make sure that you follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook. Outro music.